Shalom uvracha. Good afternoon and welcome to today's Asifa. Before I begin, I wanted to thank each of you for joining today and taking a pivotal step to help safeguard your communities from Igun and Gett abuse. It is a humbling honor to speak among so many learned and distinguished rabbis from across the world. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Steven Ashkenazie, and I am the president of the Lev Organization. Today's Asifa was put together by three amazing organizations: the Lev Organization, the Vaad Igun, and Ora Agonot, all of whom are working L'Shem Shamayim to help Agonot and to prevent the future spread of Gett refusal. The Lev Organization was established in late 2021 by a group of individuals who saw and heard the outcry on social media where 6 Agonot were being denied their religious freedom and issuance of a kosher Gett. Recognizing the need for a legitimate organization within the Sephardic community, the Lev Organization was formed. We aim to operate within halachic guidelines and to give a voice to the Agonot who have been suffering in silence for far too long. Our goal at the Lev Organization is to offer support and function as a resource center, guiding individuals and families navigating the Jewish and civil divorce process towards appropriate social, legal, and religious professionals. We strive to eliminate abuse during the divorce process and oftentimes help mediate a peaceful separation, inevitably turning their pain into peace. The Lev Organization works under the halakhic guidance of Rabbi David Masselton, Rabbi at Sharei Tzion Synagogue and Rosh Yeshiva at Orat Sarah. The Organization for the Resolution of Agonot, better known as ORA, was founded in 2002. They too seek to eliminate abuse from the Jewish divorce process and work within the parameters of Jewish law to advocate for the unconditional issuance of a Gett. ORA works under the halakhic guidance of Rabbi Herschel Schachter, Rosh Yeshiva at Ritz. The Vaad Igun was recently founded by Haber-Goldstein and Rabbi Yehoram Ulman with a specific goal to combine all efforts of those currently assisting Agonot in order to have a greater impact. The Vaad's focus is to unite rabbis from around the world to help create the systematic change that is needed and to not give up on any Agonah. Together, we have created today's Rabbi's Asifa. We gather here to address a critical issue within our communities, the Agonah crisis. We seek to inspire change and bring awareness by collaborating with each community rabbi to put an end to Gett refusal, which is a form of domestic abuse and coercive control. Our goal is to eradicate Gett refusal one community at a time, so future generations will never need to know what an Agonah is. With your help, we could turn this dream into reality. It is important to note that although rare, there are instances when a man wants to give the Gett, but his wife refuses to accept it. Tragically, over the past 2 years, we have mourned 2 deaths. As in Agonah in late 2002, and more recently, a 13-year-old boy from Muncie just a few weeks ago. It is imperative that we stop the destructive cycle of Gett refusal and parental alienation. We recognize the immense responsibility that comes with being a leader and a rabbi. We believe that part of this responsibility is to ensure the protection and well-being of every individual within your communities. We aim to highlight the essential role each of you plays in preventing the plight of Agonot, offering insight on managing unfortunate circumstances should they arise. We encourage each of you to take a firm stance against such injustices, adopting a zero-tolerance policy towards Gett refusal, ensuring there are no Gett refusers within your immediate circle. Our primary focus is empowerment. Each of you possesses the ability to bring about change. Rather than questioning your influence, consider how you can make your city or community a safer space. We will delve into the best practices and advice to prevent cases from escalating, equipping you with the knowledge to manage such delicate situations effectively. Additionally, we will address the necessary halachic steps to take in the unfortunate event of escalation, including scenarios where a Gett refuser resides in your community and a siruv has been issued. Together, let us unite in our commitment to safeguard the rights and well-being of all individuals within our communities. Your involvement and dedication to this cause are crucial, and we invite you to join us in the critical discussion. Without further delay, I have the distinct honor to introduce our first speaker, a well-known figure who requires no introduction, Rabbi Lau. Rabbi Lau, the son of Rabbi Yisrael Meir Lau, follows in his father's footsteps and currently serves as the Ashkenazie chief rabbi of Israel. Rabbi Lau has also been very vocal against Gett refusal, and we appreciate all that he has done. Given the rapidly changing events in Israel, the rabbi once again attempted to join us live, but unfortunately had to fly out of the country for a meeting. Instead, he sent a brief message and hopes to be with us live at our next event. Without further ado, we introduce Rabbi Lau in a pre-recorded message.
שלום וברכה. פרשיות השבוע עוסקות בספר שמות, ספר שנקרא הגלות והגאולה, ספר שמדבר על ירידתם של ישראל למצרים, ומשם הם יוצאים ביד רמה עם ניסים גדולים, ומשם הם יוצאים ומקבלים תורה ומקימים משכן מקום השראת שכינה. הבסיס להכל זו התחלה שאנחנו למדים את יעקב, איש וביתו באו. ישנו בית, ישנו עם יהודי, ואנחנו למדים אחר כך על משה רבינו שנולד. מאיפה הוא נולד? וילך איש מבית לוי ויקח את בת לוי. כאשר ברור מיהו הבסיס המרכזי, מיהו היסוד, כל אחד ואחד צריך לדעת את הדבר הזה ולזכור שהבסיס של עם ישראל זה יהודי, זה משפחה, זה בית, ולא פלא שבלילה שהיא מציינת יום ההולדת של העם היהודי, ליל הסדר, אנחנו שומעים על קורבן פסח, שהוא קורבן ששותפים לו בני המשפחה כולם. כאשר אתם מתארגנים, וארגון נשים גדולות ויקרות, דואגות ביחד עם רבנים, לעשות מאמץ גדול ולוודא שהמסורת והמשפחה היהודית נשארים כמות שהם, לא נותר לי אלא להצטרף ולברך ולאחל, שנדע כולנו לשמור על המשפחה היהודית בטהרתה, כפי המסורת המסורה לנו מדורי דורות, שנדע כולנו לאורך כל השנים להיות עם יהודי, עם שבנוי ממשפחות, וכולם כאחד עומדים וקוראים בשם השם ומחזקים את כבוד שמיים. עלו והצליחו, ברכת שמיים תמשיך ללוות אתכם.
Thank the rabbi for all of his help and guidance. Up next, we have Rav Moshe Weinberger, who has served as the founding Murad de Asora of Congregation Eish Kodesh in Woodmere, New York, since 1992. A noted speaker and author, he draws upon a vast array of sources that merge within him and are transmitted to countless Jews of all backgrounds. Rav Weinberger has always been intimately involved in Jewish education and outreach for almost 30 years. He has developed a library of shiurim on tefillah, Hasidut, Hashkafa, Rav Kook's Oros HaTeshuvah, and the Eish Kodesh Sefarim, among others, which are listened to by men and women all over the world. So without further ado, we introduce Rav Moshe Weinberger.
No, Rabbi Haber, it's Zman Cheruseinu. And the preparations are all well underway. And we will have our Haggadahs, our favorite Haggadahs. We're getting them ready, we're taking them out. And we're looking at the words, Asher Go'alanu Go'alas Avoseinu. Hashem, you redeemed us. You took us out and you took our ancestors out. And we say, Go'el Yisrael, this moment you're taking us out. For these months we've been davening and crying and begging for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to bring about Yetzias Mitzrayim for our brothers and sisters who are still hostages. Who are hostages far away in a strange place in Gaza. And in a different way, in a very different way, but still. There are shvuyim and shvuyas, there are hostages who are stuck in the meitzarim of months, of years, sometimes even decades, of captivity. Agunais, who are waiting for a Yeshua. You know, there was a great tzaddik in Yerushalayim, Rabbi Levine. Everybody knows about Rabbi Levine. And among the many, many unbelievable chasadim that he did, and we only know a little bit, was that he would go to visit Jewish boys who were prisoners, mostly from the Igun at that time, the beginning, Lechi and so on, who were fighting for our freedom. And they were held prisoner. They were in prison by the British, and Rabbi would go visit them very often. And the British had derech eretz for him. And he went once, it was the first day of Pesach, he went to visit the guys, and they were so excited to see him. And Rabbi asked him if they were able to make a proper Seder. And the guys told him that they were, that the British allowed them to make a proper Seder, and they had the Haber-Goldstein, they had the matzahs, they did what they could, they said the Seder, and everything was going very, very well. Until it came to Shvei Chamosch, until it came time to open the door for Eliyahu. So they said, Rebbe, that we weren't allowed to do. We couldn't open the door for Eliyahu. The British did not allow us to open the door of the prison. And Rabbi said, you know that Eliyahu doesn't come through that door. Eliyahu comes through the heart. He enters through the heart. That's where Eliyahu comes in from, and through the heart. I'm hoping and I'm davening that the doors will open of our hearts, of Am Yisrael's hearts, for those who are being held hostage in Gaza, and for those who are being held hostage in their homes, in their lives, not being able to move on with their lives. And the only way that's going to happen is if we pay attention to those people who understand this sugya, and if we become somehow on some level involved. By Yetzias Mitzrayim, there was a gilui, there's a revelation of Ani v'lo malach, Ani v'lo saraf, Ani v'lo shaliach, Ani Hashem, Ani hu v'lo acher. Hashem says, it's me. I didn't send an angel, a saraf, I didn't send a shliach. Ani Hashem, Ani hu v'lo acher. We're supposed to be as much like Hashem as possible. And only if we accept the responsibility of Ani v'lo acher, I must do something to help. There are some wonderful, great people who are helping. The people who are behind this Asifa, behind this initiative, who I know. Ani v'lo acher. I can't wait for other people to do it. The redemption should come soon for all those who are held captive, for all those who are waiting for Yeshua, and for all of Am Yisrael. You should be zeichem mit Hashem. Ki meitzeis chemer shetzayim eren and the flows with the Gula Shem Amitis. B'mehev yamin amen v'amen.
We thank the Rav for recording the video and for all of his guidance that he's provided to us. Up next, live from Israel, we have Rabbi Haber, a prominent figure in the Jewish community and education for over 40 years. Rabbi Haber received his semicha from Rabbi Chaim Pinchas Scheinberger, alav shalom. In 1979, Rabbi Haber founded the Torah Center of Buffalo, and during his 10 years there, he was the rabbi of the Amherst Synagogue and later at Congregation Achaye Temokim, known as the Saranac Synagogue. From there, the rabbi spread his wings to Melbourne, Australia, where he founded the Australian Institute of Torah. Rabbi Haber was the rabbi of Best Torah congregation in Muncie and also served as the national director of Jewish education for the Orthodox Union before moving to Israel and becoming the rabbi of Kehilat Shiftei Yeshurun in Ramat Bet Shemesh, where he currently lives. He is also currently the president of Mosaica Press. Rabbi, it is a pleasure to see you again. We are delighted to have you here, and I can't wait to hear from you. Please welcome Rabbi Haber.
Thank you very much. I'm actually live. I'm here, and it's a very, very chashuv group of rabbanim that are gathered here together, and this in itself should bring a Yeshua. I'm speaking for just a few minutes, not because I'm the chief rabbi of Israel, mostly because I'm Kayla's father, who does such wonderful work, L'Shem Shemayim, and we're proud of her. And I have been in the rabbi business, like many of you I see on the screen, for 45, 46 years, and have learned a couple of tricks. And as such, I like to speak very practically about what perhaps should be done and can be done. I'm not a disclaimer I'm not a Bucky and Hilchos Gittin in the way that I know all the maneuvering and ups and downs and Makir Lemafreyas and Gett. I don't know all those things. Well, I did attend hundreds of Gittin together with Rav Nata Greenblatt all over the world. And I've been involved, as probably most of you, in hundreds, if not thousands, of cases of shalom bayis problems and dilemmas. And as such, there's a couple of things that I just want to say. One of them practical and one of them not so practical, but I think important. Perhaps not so practical, if you'll allow me. I was introduced as having smicha from Rav Scheinberg. I do have smicha from Rav Scheinberg. I lived in his home. I was a very close talmid of his, and there and Brisk and Rav Yaakov Hillel. These are my Rabbeim, Baruch Hashem. But I just want to tell you a very brief story that years ago, 47 years ago, when I left Kollel. So, the Ulman made a little Tzeichem L'Shalom for me, and Rav Scheinberg Zecher Tzadik L'Vracha came to that Tzeichem L'Shalom. And I just want to tell you what he said. He said that many, many years earlier, I don't remember the exact history, he had left the Mir of Europe to come to America to be a Rav. And Rabbi Yerucham, the famous Mashiach, Zecher Tzadik L'Vracha, came to that Tzeichem L'Shalom. So we had a Masorah here in Tzeichem L'Shaloms. And Rabbi Yerucham said, I have one simple message to say. And Rav Scheinberg said, and I want to say that to you. And that is that when you're standing in front of an olam as a Rav, you're going to look at the people, you're going to want to say something, and you're going to look at the people, and you're going to ask yourself, what am I supposed to tell them exactly? I mean, they're not really educated in the way that you can tell them like 100% the MS with such clarity and with such uncompromising, so you're going to think to yourself, let me tell them a little bit. There'll be Magal Access. I'll tell them a little bit of MS, and I'll wrap it around in a story, and I'll fix it up, and I'll smooth it out, and I'll give it out there. So Rabbi Yerucham said to Rav Scheinberg, he said, when you have that thought of like watering down the MS, he says, resist it. Don't do it, because the truth of the matter is that people can't hear an eighth of the MS, a quarter of the MS, a half of the MS. Many people just can't hear. However, if you're saying the MS Gemura, if you're saying complete MS, so somehow or another, Hashem helps that gets right into people's hearts. And I think about that every day. I think about how often one has to speak out and one is afraid to say the MS. The reason why we're here and the reason is because there's a problem with an aguna, with agunos. And this is a problem that people are suffering. Maybe when we think of an aguna, we think of like a cause celebre, which is going on for many years, and everybody heard about it, and what should we do, and why aren't the rabbis doing anything, and all these attacks and hard feelings, a lot of amaratzis, I would say. But that's not really the cases that most of us are involved with. Most of us are more involved with the day-to-day lives of people that unfortunately their marriages don't work out. And you could be an aguna for a day also. You could be an aguna for a week, for a month, meaning, they're suffering. They're suffering. And I think there are a couple of things that we can do if we can just say the MS in our own communities, everybody in their communities. And I think it can make a difference. I think there'll be a certain siyata d'shmaya. First of all, as I say, there's probably a lot of agunas. And this is the impractical part. The impractical part is that, particularly in the United States, thank God I live in Eretz Yisrael, and could even see our girl behind me. Thank God I live in Eretz Yisrael, but in my experience in the United States was a lack of, for the most part, a lack of structured community. And what I mean by that is the rabbi had his role, and the community had its role. Maybe an exception to this would be, let's say, the Kaladas Yeshurim community or the Chabad community, but by and large, in the Orthodox, modern Orthodox community, the rabbi got up to speak, and it wasn't making rules for the community. That might be good, but that's not what the people didn't want the rabbi to do that. But what happened is it became a bit of a, in my opinion, and this is after years and years of going back and forth on these things, it became a little bit of a kol hayosher be'einav yaseh, in the sense that there isn't a situation, and I believe there should be a situation, where we can get up and say to somebody who's withholding a get, no. We don't do that in our community. This is just not done here. This is not an option. You see, the problem is that since we're kind of like disjointed, and I go to this rabbi, I go to that rabbi, this community, that community, this shul, that shul, the daven on the block. Because of this, we've kind of lost that community structure in which we can just put our foot down and say, minhag hamakom, isurei hamakom, makom shenagu. Here we do not withhold Gittin. I believe, I don't know if anybody on this screen or in Klal Yisrael in general these days, particularly as I say in America, has the koach to create a ground where lo osin kain bimkomenu. It just can't be done. I think people are getting away with literally murder, as was mentioned. People are getting away with terrible, terrible things, and there's no community that's stopping it. Here in Eretz Yisrael, as you know, and I know the chief rabbi was meant to be here and he couldn't come in person, but here we have the rabbinate. I'm not a real, big part of the rabbinate, but we do know that when you go to when somebody wants to get divorced, they go file a tick, file in the Beis Din, and it goes into the national legal system, and there's really no messing around. Now, a lot of rabbis don't know how to use the system, how to work the system, what the rules of the system, but it's a system that works. In Israel, we do not withhold Gittin. And it does work a lot. It works a lot. I'm not saying there's no cases of people getting around the system. There's whole organizations today, by the way, which were founded to try to circumvent the rabbinate, as you probably know. But this is the rabbinate doing good stuff, and making sure that there's actually could be a jail sentence if nothing else. They freeze your money in your bank account. They you have to give a get. In the United States, it's a free country, thank God, and it's a little bit more challenging in this sense. So what you have is a situation where everybody just gets away with things. I hope that doesn't sound too harsh. I don't mean to sound harsh, and I'm not like any kind of a controlling person. But I think when it comes to Gittin and people suffering, we have to put our foot down. And I would say this to go back to my point, that for some reason, we're a little bit afraid to help. I don't know why. So many people have signed up to help and to speak at conferences like this. And then they back out. Too political, too complicated, too dangerous. What's political? People shouldn't be suffering. Yes, these things are complicated, but a get should not be used to make people suffer. Everybody agrees with that. So what's political about it? I don't know. I mean, I do know, but I don't know whether it is or it isn't. I think we all have to get out of our own skin a little bit and speak up. And I want to tell everybody here that you'll speak up and you'll be heard. Somebody will hear. Maybe many people will hear. Everybody will hear. That's the my view, bigadol. I want to just say a little thing that I learned from years of experience that I want to share with everybody here. You see, when we went to rabbi school or had shimush from Talmidei Chachamim, went to yeshivas kollels, we were always instructed. I was always instructed. I presume everybody's true. That like, what are you supposed to do when a couple comes to you, or a husband or a wife, and says, I don't think this is working out. I want to get, or I want to give a get. Very sad. The instructions that I always received, the education I received was, no. Don't do get it out of your mind. Don't even say the word. We'll work it out. We'll make shalom bayis, and don't think get. Don't think about that. That's not what you should be thinking about. In retrospect of many, many decades, as much as I am for shalom bayis, and I think we got to give it everything we can. This is a huge mitzvah. I don't have to explain to you what a huge mitzvah that is. But at the same time, sometimes a couple or a husband and a wife come to you and they talk about a get. And sometimes the thing to do is to say, okay, tomorrow morning. Now, again, you have to have chachma, and if you don't have chachma, we shouldn't be rabbonim. But it seems to me that what happens when you schlep it on, if it's going to end at the end, what happens when you schlep it on is that all these, first of all, emotional feelings come up, and one gets full of anger, and one asks wrong answers and gets difficult opinions, and perhaps speaks to wrong rabbis, or worse, they speak to lawyers who do their job well. And a lawyer will always tell this couple, husband or wife, almost always, like, don't even think about giving a get or getting a get, taking a get, usually giving a get, until I do my magic, until I do my work. Now, the lawyer's doing the job. That's what they're being paid for. I'm not criticizing lawyers. I'm saying that this should be a no-go. And sometimes I realize, and I really just a few weeks ago, I saw a couple that it just was not working. I tried for 4 months, 5 months, a new couple, and I thought to myself, there's just no chance. Why keep on schlepping this along? I didn't think there was any chance. I was Mashiach with their therapists and all. And I said to them, listen, let's organize a get tomorrow. I called a couple of other rabbanim in the city to help me in Beit Shemesh. Not necessarily on any kind, we're on any kind of a team together. But I said, this is something like, let's do it. Let's nip it in the bud before it becomes a big mice and a big geschäft. And we did. And literally within a week, they gave a get. And if we would not have done that, I'm telling you, there would have been lawyers involved and emotions involved and all kinds of reasons why not today, tomorrow, not tomorrow, next year. And this would have schlepped on, and it doesn't have to schlep on that way. So in short, what I'm saying is that I think most important is we've got to try to make all of us have a responsibility to try to affect a culture change. And the culture change is that in Orthodox Jewish communities, you don't withhold the get. And if you do, there's repercussions. I'm not talking about punishments, but you went against the community, and every shul will do what's practical for them to do. But you just can't get away with it and still be part of the community. And people, by the way, want to be part of the community. If the biggest punishment you can give somebody is to put them in jail into solitary confinement. Why? Because they can't talk to anybody. Not being able to talk to anybody is the biggest pressure. They say like the worst onesh that you can be. Like you're isolated, and how you isolate people, and where the chachma is, and how to make a kiddush Hashem in this. I leave to your great chachma. But what I want to appeal to everybody to do, and I have taken it upon myself. I think my daughter woke me up to this more than I was myself. What we have to take upon ourselves is just to nip it in the bud and make sure it doesn't happen. And if it happens, if there is a get, so push the get. If you're supposed to, like Gittin comes before Kedushin, because Hashem is makdim the refuah l'makah. So it means that Gittin is also a type of a refuah sometimes. And where it's a refuah, and we can see with these poor women that are chained in our goodness, how it would be such a refuah to have a get, much more so than a kiddushin. So I wish everybody a chag kosher v'sameach. I thank you for indulging me and listening to me for a few minutes. And I'd love to become friends with everybody who's here. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Rav Yitzhak Yisraeli. Rav Yisraeli is a renowned posek an author who follows the halachic path of his Rebbe, Maran Harav Avadia Yosef Zatzal. In 2016, he was elected the chief rabbi of the Bukharian community in the United States and Canada, guiding and setting policy for the many rabbanim and congregations of his growing community. He also serves as Dayan, Av Bet Din, and Rav in the Sephardic community in Mill Basin, as well as the Rosh Yeshiva in Queens. His expertise in all areas of halacha has earned him the respect of Jewish communities across the globe who seek guidance in the most complex halachic questions. Rabbi Israeli, thank you for joining us today live.
ברוכים הבאים to all the rabbanim. This is a very important meeting to help this Agunot. I would like to start with the words of Maran Achida, which brings from his grandfather, the Holy Abraham, that these days, the days between Purim and Pesach, the 30 days between Purim and Pesach, those are days of Pidyon. The HaKadosh Baruch Hu is for each and every one of us, and even those who are shkoim ba'avonot, says as a Holy Abraham, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is for all of us until Erev Pesach. All Arba'asar, Mishnah starts with all. That's a big all that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is meir to each and every Yehudi and gives them a full freedom, which is Chag HaCherut. So it is very appropriate to take this meeting these days, which is days of Cherut, days of Geulah, בניסן נגאלו, ערב ראש חודש ניסן, בניסן נגאלו, בניסן עתידין נגאל. And I would like to bring a couple of issues which we experience, and the information is important to know how to deal with situations like this, and what some of the solutions are on the table. So as Rabbi Haber mentioned, it is very difficult in America to establish a ground for a solution for all communities, since it is a free country, Isha Yashar Be'enav Yaseh. And it is important to establish such a very strong front line of a big group of rabbis that's going to stand together, and they're going to be the umbrella of Agunot issue, which means if there is an issue of Agunah that the local Rav, the Rav of the community was unable to resolve, or even the Bedin of the community was unable to resolve, should go to the next level of this big umbrella of a large group of rabbis, which they're going to have the power to issue some sort of what Rabbi Haber mentioned before, which is called the Akon Ta'alacha, Chakot de Rabbeinu Tam. Chakot de Rabbeinu Tam basically have been used throughout the whole Jewish history from Rabbeinu Tam and on, even in cases where Akon Ta'alacha and Kofin. And this is something that it's important to know. Although, yes, Gett Meuseh, it's Gett Pasul. And one of the 10 conditions of Gett to be Kasher Mideoraita is to be given Beratzon Abal, as mentioned in the Rambam at the beginning of Alchot Girushin, also in Masechet Yevamot Kufil Bet. So everyone knows Gett has to be given Beratzon. והיה מלך נמצא חן בעיניו, כמעט צבע הרבה דבר, משילחה מביתו. מה זאת אומרת? Vaad. With the סוגיה כתובה defined, and also כתובות הבא in Zayin, which the Mishnah talks about, the Mishnah Gemara talks about when is the halacha יוציא וייתן כתובה, or the halacha is כופין, לתת את הגט. which mentioned in Even HaEzer, סימן עין זין, סימן קל"ד, סימן קנ"ד. There's a large amount of cases that yes, we are taking the precautions of kofin. Now, kofin, the terminology of kofin, kfiya begett, is kofin otat shema rotze ani, which means, in simple word, the olden days, if the halacha is kofin, they lock the door and he's unable to get out until he gives the get. That's the kofin. In some cases, was a machloket among the Rishonim, like Tanat Ma'is Alai. Ma'is Alai used to be at the time of the Geonim, Arif, and a Rambam, that they used to force the husband to give a get and a Tanat Ma'is Alai. And that's the argument of Rabbeinu Tam, Sefer Yashar, Siman Kaf Dalet, also Tosafot, in a couple of places in Shas, that on Tanat Maisalai, we're not allowed to force to give a get. But then Rabbi Tam came with this suggestion. Okay, we cannot force to give a get as a simple kofin, which means kofin otat shema otzeani, but we're going to use harchakot against this husband. And harchakot means it's important to know the difference between a nidui and harchakot, because nidui, agreed upon all the poskim that nidui is the same as kfiyah and physical kfiyah. So nidui and kfiyah is the same. Harchakot as opposed to nidui is that we're not making anything on the person himself, forcing to force him. But we are telling ourselves, we're telling the community, we are going to stay away from this man who refused to give a get to his wife. We're not going to make anything with him. We're not going to have anything to do with him as far as Jewish needs. And that includes, we can take it to the extent, even to that extent, not to provide brit milah to his children, not to have his children in yeshivot. Of course, we don't have to start with this, but we can get to this extent and not even to give him Kfurat Israel. So we can take very, very steps against a husband who refused to give a get to his wife. If it fits to halacha requirement, one of the halacha requirements, if a husband is refused to live with his wife, to provide to her, his moneh chayi should completely from his wife, he's falling under this category. He doesn't want no shalom. He doesn't want shalom bayit. He doesn't want to have anything to do with her. He's not going to provide to her. He's not going to live with her. He's not going to have tashmish with her. But he's not going to give her a get. That's falling under this category. So we can take this achakot for Tam, which in America we cannot force. We cannot force physically. It's against the law. We cannot force. In many cases, according to halacha, we are allowed to force, but we cannot force. We cannot use force in America. So, but Hakot Rabbeinu Tam, this is something that we can use. And it's important to know. It's important that all the Rabbanim will have this information available for a couple of reasons. We experienced recently a couple of cases where the husband, not only that he kept his wife aguna for several years, but even after the case was resolved and he gave a get, he went out in public and was complaining the get was me'useh, he was forced to give a get against halacha. And some Rabbanim who heard the husband, one of the cases is very smooth talker, is lashon mirma, he has a charisma, he knows how to convince people. They fell into his story. And they believed, yes, some dayanim did something against halacha and they gave a get me'useh, which is get pasul. So at first, it's important to know that in many cases of halacha we are allowed to force. There are cases that yes, kofin ala get, but also it's important to know that not everything is considered kfiyah, and that's in addition to that, the husband is not ne'eman to say after he gave a get, it's not ne'eman to say he was me'useh to give a get. That's a whole sugya by itself. The ne'emanut of the husband to claim after a get was given that the get was done in a me'useh. So which needs to have aiding for that, and to have proofs for that. But just to claim on itself is not ne'eman. So what we try to provide here, the three precautions of me'useh, which is going to fall under this category of completely get me'useh, which is described in Shut Tashbetz, Chelek Dalet, also Shut Bet Ephraim, and other poskim. Me'useh means that the kfiyah was so strong, either physically or other kind of kfiyah, that he cannot stay married. That's the first condition. Second condition, that the kfiyah was continuing and did not stop. It was continuing until the get was given. Third, he has no escaping. He was unable to escape, to run away from the kfiyah. If all these three conditions were falling in one place, that's a called good me'useh. One of the cases that were dealing here in America, Aguna case of 19 years, we don't have mentioned names now. And after 19 years, well, this man, not only did he kept his wife Aguna, but also he cheated some Rabbanim. They did some kind of a get zikui. They gave him a head to get married. He went, he got married. he got married and he had kids with his second wife. He kept his first wife, Aguna. 19 years after this Aguna story, some Bedin managed to get him to give a get. And then the amount of pressure, they went on a war. After this husband gave a get, he went on a war against the Rabbanim. He took some Rabbanim to Supreme Court. He sued them. He made a whole balagan for the Rabbanim. And the Rav who started the get, he retreated. He wrote a letter that was Moshe, saying the get is possible. I can be Melamed Zchut on this Rav who started the get. He was under such an amount of pressure from this group of people. The amount of pressure they put on the Rabbanim, the force to use against the Rabbanim, bashing them in public, in social media and other places, taking them to court. Such an Ugmat Nefesh, they were not able to stand the pressure. There's a lot of pressure. We experienced that ourselves also. So we're dealing with a case of cases that those people are such a periodom. Not only they're not giving a get and fighting with the wives and causing them to be Aguna for years, but whoever's going to manage to bring a solution, they're going to chase him and they're going to try to destroy his life. So that's why it's important to establish a very strong front of a large group of Rabbanim who's going to, first of all, be able to deal with this and also tell the communities, oh, this man is not giving a get, and according to halacha, yes, we are allowed to take the precautions of Hakot of Rabbeinu Tam against him, and communities must follow. And this man is going to know he's not going to get aliyah, he's not going to be part of the minyan, he's not going to be a member in a shul. The children are not going to be in yeshivot. He's not going to be able to even brit milah. They're not going to do this until he's going to give a get. He's going to have to know this. There is a Hakot of Rabbeinu Tam to be taken against him. And since it's established with a strong group of rabbis, yes, it's possible that most communities will follow it, and it's going to be forced to give a get. Not only that, but those periodom who's chasing the Rabbanim after it, they're not going to be able to do so, because now there is a big group of Rabbanim backing up the decision of the Bedin or the Rav who started the get, and standing behind it, and all communities are united on this. There's a big, strong front, and they cannot attack. I believe, Baruch Hashem, there are many Askonim who would love to have something like this going on, and they're going to also support it financially. But if that's going to be done, I believe that would be a good solution for Agunot. People will know also in advance, and maybe we should use also the chinuch when we give Chatan classes. The same as we're teaching the Chatan the halachot of Taharat Habayit and etc. We should teach him also the hashkafa of the Torah. If Chas v'Shalom son falls into a situation where he has to give a get, then we're not holding a get just to be mitzvah the other one, just to cause to take a revenge from the other party. We must follow the Torah. Torah is giving us the instructions during marriage and also how to end the marriage. And if that's part of the chinuch, as the Rabbis mentioned before, it will be easier to deal with this later. With that, I would like to end with Tfilat Hashem to help all the Knesset Israel is considered Aguna also. We are waiting for Hashem to come and redeem us, make the final Geula, Mashiach tzidkenu, בימי בית המקדש, רצון שיתקיים בנו בניסן נגאלו, בניסן עתידים להיגאל, גאולה כללית, גאולה פרטית. Those hostages that in Gaza and dark places, because we released them. Yom Shvuyim HaKadosh Bodech, and every one of us will be done for all of us, including those hostages and including those Agunot.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you for always supporting us in our in everything that we do, and your commitment to Torah and seeking the truth on each case. Last but not least, we have Rabbi Yehoram Ulman from Sydney, Australia. Rabbi Ulman serves as one of the senior Dayanim of the Sydney Bet Din. He is the Bet Din's principal liaison with the Chief Rabbinate of Israel, and in particular with Chief Rabbi Amar. Rabbi Ulman plays a crucial role and various organizations, including Friends of Refugees of Eastern Europe, also known as FREE. His work with FREE has connected thousands of immigrants from the former USSR to their Jewish heritage. Rabbi Ulman is also a world-renowned rabbinic authority in matters relating to fertility, genetics, and other complex areas of Jewish law. In late August 2023, I had the pleasure of meeting and hearing Rabbi Ulman speak at an Igun Asifa held in Brooklyn, New York. This Asifa was put together by Rabbi Haber's daughter, who spoke previously, Kayla Haber-Goldstein. She is also the brainchild of today's Asifa. Due to the time difference, it is currently approximately 4:58 in Australia, so the rabbi has provided a pre-recorded speech. So without further ado, we now introduce Rabbi Ulman to speak.
Meirav Rabbi Sai, organizers of this Hemshech to the first Asifa that took place about 6 months ago. Thank you for organizing, and thank you for the opportunity to take a small part in this holy endeavor. Since last Asifa, we already see the effects and the results of the resolutions made, and the amount of women that either were helped or at least having their voices heard, which is already a great achievement. And today, I want to speak for a couple of minutes about the crucial role of Rabbonim, rabbis, leaders, pulpit rabbis, community rabbis, to be able to achieve this, the matorah, the aim of what we're trying to do with this Asifa, and to be able to eradicate the horrors of Igun from our communities. We know that even though generally speaking, one of the yesodis, one of the foundations in the laws of Gittin is that the Gett has to be given with the consent and with the full rotzen of the husband. However, there are certain very specific cases and circumstances when a bezdin can decide to apply pressure, either to mechayev, to obligate the husband to give a get, or even more so, to apply and administer what's called kfiyas a get, literally forcing the get. In Israel, it's much, much easier to achieve. In Israel, the Bota didn't have a great power to be able to achieve it. They're even able to, at their discretion, to send the husband to prison. Overseas, it's much more complicated. And but there are certain times when the Bezdin of Talmidei Chachamim, of Mumchim in this area, can decide that a particular pressure is in order and can be applied. For example, in certain situations, in certain circumstances, one can apply what's called Harchokas de Rabbeinu Tam. Now, Rabbeinu Tam, when he listed those sanctions which are enumerated in Sefer HaYosher, he didn't do it in the way of being makel or being lenient. On the contrary, he was being machmir. He didn't agree to the full extent of the leniencies and parameters that the Gaonim and the Rambam allowed to be able to force a get. He felt that he wants to be more conservative, but at the same time, he also ruled that in a situation where the Bezdin feels that pressure may be applied, and if one looks in Shulchan Aruch, in Siman Kufnan Dalet, and the poskim who discuss those halachas, we can see that the parameters of pressure are much greater than sometimes we're led to believe. There's many, many more instances when pressure could be applied. Now, Rabbeinu Tam, in his Archokas, he made those sanctions that on one hand don't impact the physical life of the Baal HaMesarev, the Baal, the husband who is the refuser, and that at the same time, those sanctions for a person living in a community definitely have the power, potentially, to be able to put that pressure which is needed in order to influence him to give a get. Now, there's no question that the Bezdin cannot achieve those results without the cooperation and without the goodwill of the Rabbonim and other influential members of the community where the husband is attached or belongs to. In Sydney, I remember we had instances, I remember at least very clearly one particular case where the husband who was not giving the get, and ultimately we publicized in the community that we are applying the sanctions, the Archokos of Rabbeinu Tam, and we listed those sanctions. And because all of the Rabbonim in the community and all of the members of the community, they cooperated and participated in adhering to those sanctions, it took merely 2 weeks when the husband came to the Bezdin and gave the get to his wife. At the same time, I know of a case happening right now where a close colleague of mine, an Av Bezdin, a great Talmud Chacham who is very knowledgeable in these halachas, decided that in a particular case, Archokos of the Rabbeinu Tam are in order, and he asked the Rav of the community to cooperate with him and to administer and enforce those Archokos. And for whatever reason, the rabbi didn't comply. It seems that it is either because of the certain power that the husband or his family have in the community. It could be other pressures. Sometimes there are financial influences. But there's no question that without the cooperation of Rabbonim and Askonim and members of the community, the Bezdin themselves, the Dayan of the Bezdin, cannot administer and cannot apply those Archokos. The Bezdin can paskin, but it's up to the Rabbonim and ultimately the members of the community to be able to apply those Archokos. And I'm asking the Rabbonim that if this comes to the door, if a Bezdin of Talmidei Chachamim, Yirei Shamayim, coming to them and asking to apply and administer those sanctions, think about the woman who is suffering from the chains of Igun as if this was your own daughter or your sister. And the same way as you would never live a day without doing everything possible to make sure that she should be freed from those chains, apply the same chesed, the same kindness to a woman in this particular case. And I think, in my very strong opinion, it's a choiv kodesh. It's a very holy obligation on every single rabbi, on every single community leader, to be able to be not be swayed by any pressures of the husband or his family, but to be able to do what is right. And if the Bezdin is paskening that those sanctions are in order, those sanctions are obligatory. They have to be adhered to. It is my hope and prayer that Jewish couples should live with total shalom bayis. But if chas v'sholom, marriage breaks up, then halacha should be followed. And if everybody involved, not just the Beis Din, not just the poskim, but also the rabbonim, the askonim, community members, and Klal Yisrael, will be dedicated to make sure that the process is carried out according to halacha, we will not have one single case of Igun. And may Hashem again bring shalom bayis to Klal Yisrael, emes shalom, and we should merit the ultimate peace with the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu.
Thank you, Rabbi, for your support and advocacy. Thank you for creating the Vaad. And if anyone would like to continue to get involved please email vaadligun@gmail.com, vaadligun@gmail.com. Before we conclude, I want to give a very large thank you to Kayla Goldstein, the Vaad, and Ora Agonot for making today a reality. Without them, today would not have been possible. I also want to thank all of our esteemed rabbis and speakers, and you, the rabbis that have joined us today. I urge each and every one of you, my fellow leaders and revered rabbis, to join forces and work tirelessly to combat Gett refusal. Gett refusal is not a woman's right or a men's right issue. It is a human's rights issue. Unfortunately, most of us have heard the harrowing stories by current and former Agonot. Let this be a poignant reminder of the suffering and hardship they have endured and continue to endure. As Rabbi Ulman said, we must take action as if chas v'shalom, one of these cases were our own daughter or sister. We must create batei dinim that when a seruv is issued, the community enforces it by not doing business with these individuals, by not allowing them into our synagogues, or even perhaps refusing burial in our community private cemeteries. Together, let us stand united in our commitment to bring about meaningful change, and let our actions speak volumes as we strive to create a future free from the anguish of Agonot. No one should have to experience years of physical, verbal, and coercive abuse, and it is our responsibility to put an end to such injustice. It is one of the biggest mitzvot to help the downtrodden and those who can't help themselves. Together, we can make a profound and lasting impact. Thank you all for joining, and I wish you all a happy and healthy Pesach.